In another world, a master could be seen buying a Medusa slave. The slave is thankful for purchasing her, she already likes his voice upon hearing it, although as a Medusa her snakes is hostile but she is unable to use her powers due to being blindfolded. She ponders that his face is great too, although she snuck in words to take off her blindfold to see his face. The master worries she might turn him into stone, guessing she doesn't want to be his slave coming off strong on their first encounter. The Medusa slave wonders why did he bought her, wondering if she would be used for assassinating a target. Although he denies doing something awful, she hinted questioning if he would use her for sexual release, which he denies that accusation, saying it's not right either. Medusa explained that her kind has the ability to see an object's temperature, which upon a closer look, her master's thing is apparently a little bit excited right now, which he became flustered as he covered his groin baby making area. At the end her master seems to not have any sexual desire for her, as he denied sex slaves in particular. But more importantly, he praises her master's thing for being brilliant. Wanting to see it with her own eyes, she tried convincing her blindfold to be removed, which he immediately caught on her act, wondering if she really plans to turn him into stone. Medusa once again questions her master on why she doesn't want to take off the blindfold. Although he finds her obvious with her intentions to turn him into stone, she perhaps thought that it is her master's fetish liking blindfolded girls, which is a huge misunderstanding. Medusa questions his master if he doesn't like blindfolded girls. In fact, he perceived him as hating them. Although he doesn't hate them, he in fact likes them, explaining their first encounter, seeing her she looked so pretty, as to why he bought her in the first place. She pointed out that his master bought the person he loves with money, saying it's awful, which he immediately got depressed, apologizing for his actions, seeing himself as the worst, although Medusa jokes about it as he also likes his master this way. She suggested they both gaze upon each other as lovers, which she wanted to look at each other's eyes. He immediately caught on, as she's only making him go along with this to remove her blindfold, questioning if she still hasn't give up trying to turn him into stone. After their small talks, he suggested her to get cleaned up, although she questions this as it would be wrong for a slave to do so, but it's unsanitary to leave her dirty and to not worry about it. She decided to comply by asking to be freed from the shackles as they are in the way, which we transition to the changing room as she describes being embarrassed being looked at like this for the first time. She started to immediately describe the color of her unders as she is unsure about its size and shape, which took the master by surprise, although she is comfortable as the master bought her kindly enough as she decided to ask her to look at it. But upon looking behind her, she was describing looking at her eyes again, pointing to the assumption that she wants to turn him into stone again. The master originally planned Medusa to be working as a maid, which he asks to take care of him going forward, but Medusa questioned if it's fine to have someone who turns people into stone around him, wondering if it's alright for her to not be shackled and blindfolded. He pointed out the blindfold is made with magic to keep her from removing it by herself, which he tried to make it look cute as possible. This made Medusa grateful, as it's the first time he received something from people, treasuring it as best as she can. Wanting to protect the gift, she teases his master to take it off of her, which scared him a little as she giggled towards his reaction. She ponders about her master buying her because of being attracted to her. She points out there is more to see in her which he doesn't know about her, but he already caught on to it as it's about her eyes wanting her to turn him into stone, which Medusa pointed out that he understood her intentions immediately, understanding a lot of things about her. Although Medusa assured that she still really want for her master to get to know more of her, Medusa explains that it saddens her that the fact no one knows her true face is saddening, and questions if he would like to see her face, which he suddenly would like to see her face, but Medusa immediately smiled as he almost fall for her tricks this time. She immediately explained that it's her duty to keep her master from getting bored, which she questioned what are the shape of her eyes. She suggested that it could be slanted eyes giving her cool vibes, although it would seemingly close to that, or a usually calm but drooping Mao eyes that wants to turn him into stone. Last but not least, the eyes of a person who will betray him halfway through the story, which the master picked number 3, the one that has the eyes of a person who will betray him halfway. Then upon knowing his question, she urges him to open her blindfold and see the truth, but he commented knowing that things would end this way, which of course he didn't take off the blindfold. The next day she commented on the rain making things boring, suggesting to play some games which the master agreed. It's basically rock paper scissors which you take off one piece of clothing every time you lose, which as expected she reveals that if he wins he would get to see her naked body, which also if she wins he will have to take off her blindfold. As her master reveals this, she only stood there blankly staring at her. She diverted the statement and continued acting like nothing happened, suggesting to have a staring contest, but he already caught on to her once again as she wouldn't be able to play that game without removing the blindfold, suggesting she is always aiming to turn him into stone. As their daily lives continue, she suddenly bumped into his Medusa slave. She apparently got some dirt in her eyes while cleaning, asking for the blindfold to be taken off. He freaked out, questioning if she couldn't see properly, but she teases him, only joking around, to get her blindfold removed. She revealed she honestly did want him to remove her blindfold, although her master reminded her that once he can trust her on not turning him into stone he would be fine having her around with no blindfold. She questions if there would be a day, although he half-heartedly questions if he would be targeted for the rest of his life. Medusa loved her master very much, although she reminded him that she's not trying to turn him into a stone even just a little bit, although he brushed that idea that even if they got closer to each other he still can't trust her. Faced with the reality that she doesn't have her master's trusts, she suggests biting him. As she is part venomous snake, he pointed out it's also not okay for that alternative, although she made it sound sexy by making it seem like he doesn't want her to do it with her mouth, pointing out his hatred towards it. Although he doesn't accept this, as no matter how lewd she make it sound it's still not alright. The master is surprised as she is also venomous. All along she was hiding her skills like a skilled hawk hiding its talons, which for now her master recommended putting on a mouth cage for her. On the other hand, Medusa perceived this as one of her master's fetish. Medusa posed up for her master, teasing her as a blindfolded non-human muzzled up maid, asking if it's his fetish, but afterwards her master concluded that she wasn't venomous at all, so he removed the muzzle. After a while Medusa mentioned Christmas is soon almost here. She wonders what does her master wants to do, either take the blindfold or keep it, asking to end this petty squabble between them, although he ponders if he stop resisting, she might really turn him into stone. Although Medusa reminded her master it's not okay to say selfish things, pointing out Santa only gives present to good people, although her master chose his life over some present, but jokes aside Medusa seems to believe in Santa, asking if it's coming for her, as even though Medusa is a slave, Santa always comes for people who is kind and she expects such things, which he asks if does she wants anything for Christmas. But her ultimate wish was that her blindfold was taken off, which he quickly shut her down and to not expect it, as Santa would be also afraid of turning into stone. As the cold weather rolls in, her master seems to caught a fever. Medusa persists on checking him up with her eyes, but he suddenly jerked up, not being able to calm down as he might finally meet his fate of being stoned. She teases her master of coughing up to turn into stone, calling that joke uncalled for. As her master coughed up badly, Medusa took him up to bed to get some rest for today, wanting to take care of him and the house. Her master questions if she doesn't feel happy about her master being sick and she might have the intention of finishing him off while he's vulnerable. She suddenly turned towards him as she smiled with her little snakes showing joy, asking that she should be denying it, which she assured him of never doing something like that, but she got called out for being terrible at lying. The next day Medusa and her master celebrated, which she suggests they shout cheers to her eyes and to take it off. He quickly denied this, evading her intentions. Although she seemed to push the idea that even if he doesn't spoke about this it is still said aloud by his heart, although he definitely seemed to not think of it that way sadly, although going forward when his master reached the legal drinking age he wants to drink with her, giving the idea that he will keep her around for the future, which made Medusa glad to hear that. Although regarding her master at that time, she wishes for him to haven't turned into stone before that happened. After a while Medusa blindfold got dirty, which she couldn't bear the thought of dirtying her master's gift. Her master apologizes for doubting her, although she tries to turn him into stone regularly, which is also partly her fault. Her master insists on cleaning it for her. She questions if it's alright, but to her surprise she got a spare blindfold, which made her pout, asking to Give her expectations back to her. After a while Valentine's Day came, which today Medusa gave a gift to her dearest master, wanting to accept the chocolates she made. Her master is skeptical, asking if it's poison, but to her this seems negative, a little bit frustrated as she doesn't do that and her only specialty is only turning people into stone, which she assures that these are really her true feelings towards him. She smiled, explaining she doesn't expect much back in return but as a gift. For the following white day she wants her blindfold to be taken off, which he then shut it down, asking to not expect so much as her feelings develop. She suddenly got frustrated as apparently while they are shopping, Medusa caught her master looking at other girls, feeling a bit jealous, which he apparently didn't knew she can feel this way. She suddenly pointed out that he rather look into other people's eyes and won't look at her, although it's undeniable that if he initiated that he would be gone forever. He suggested aside from looking into her eyes they could do other special things she wouldn't do with any other individual. She then asks for her master's first time, which she elaborately explained on his first time turning into stone, shouting as that would be also his last time, asking sweetly to give his first time as his last, but her master denied this. She suddenly revealed that she tend to act as the saying the need to keep someone for themselves, asking if her master hates women like that. He wonders why the sudden topic, although he doesn't hate the idea. She then immediately confessed her love towards him, which her snakes also made a smile but grin face. Medusa explained that her master bought her from rags, giving her home and clothing, making him the best she could ever have, which is also why if others find him attractive like this, she is afraid he will leave her side, making her feel uneasy, wanting to keep this for herself. She also reminded her master that it's kind weird even though they are not in a relationship she is this clingy towards him. Her master understood, claiming to be fond of clingy types of girls too and wanting to always stay by her side, always and forever. Medusa perceived her master as a kind master, which in that case she wants to turn him into stone forever and ever as he get to be by herself. Moreover, he wouldn't be able to cheat on her. He now questions if she turned into a loving mad blindfold and now a Yandra, denying her advances towards him.
As their days goes on, Medusa gets creative. Since she's a creature who turns people into stone, it's one of the main reason her master can't take off the blindfold. So in other words, she suggested that they should overcome the drawbacks, and as long as there's an upside it will be alright, which obviously there aren't any upsides. She pointed out the example, even though something is poisonous a person would still wonder how it tastes, suggesting there's an upside even as going far as risking his life, which she decided she will make an Ahigo double peace sign if he took off the blindfold, which he ponders he won't have enough time to see it, but still craves for that sight on his slave, which she recommended taking off her blindfold as she smiled and put her tongue out. As white day came, she doesn't want any chocolates in return but instead for her blindfolded to be taken off, which her master shut the idea down immediately. Instead of taking it off, he rewarded her Medusa slave some candy as a return gift. Medusa perceived this as mutual benefit, explaining that each return gift has its meaning. Cookies were made an example, which Medusa explained it's a sign of staying friends and not lovers. He questioned what does candy meant. Medusa suddenly spouted, taking her blindfold and sending the message to turn him into stone, which the high merchant clearly said there's no such thing. But deep down Medusa is happy as she received a gift and is grateful for White Day. After White Kiss, Medusa requested wanting a kiss from her master, which her master is suddenly taken by surprise as what's the sudden request. She explained that as they grew closer she always thought of him and wanted to gift affection. Her master became nervous as he pointed out it's not bad to initiate intimacy to one another but they're not lovers. She questioned him which he prefer, the type of kissing with eyes closed or open eyes, which he immediately caught on to her act. The high merchant already made sense that Medusa just wanted to show her eyes, but ultimately he couldn't refuse her and gave her a smooch. As they finished up, Medusa teases the master if he wants to check if her eyes are open, suggesting he checked it out, which he isn't falling for. The next day arrives. Medusa mentions the meteor shower today, eagerly wanting to see it, so she suggested taking her blindfold off, although he questions her intentions as she might probably turn him into stone, which Medusa denied, although her master isn't a fool and questions her if she thought she could bait him. Although shortly after she invited her master to take out for a walk, outside Medusa stood beside her master sitting in their garden. She wonders how are the shooting stars. The high merchant master apologizes to Medusa, although it would make it better if he took off the blindfolds. Her master suddenly thought of the idea if she can't see in the dark and won't turn him into stone, he could. She suddenly pointed out he's being awfully a lot nice towards her. She mentions the reasoning as it's because probably they kissed yesterday, which he immediately explained as it's not like that, but he just wanted to enjoy the shooting stars with him, although Medusa wanted to see the shooting stars with her master. She really can't. Fearing the power of the Medusa eyes on her, she doesn't want to face the consequences of the unknown power it contains. But besides this, even if she can't see the stars, being with her master like this, enjoying the moment together, makes her happy. And to top it off, she wish upon a star, it would be wanting this happiness she is experiencing to continue. But she immediately went overboard, asking to take the blindfolds off, which she ruined a heartfelt moment just now as she wanted to turn him into stone. The next day, Medusa is once again talking about the weather feeling good lately, and as such it feels nice and warmer. As the sun is stronger and brighter, she wanted to try on the so-called sunglasses, although he pointed out that the blindfolds already protect her eyes from the sunlight, which of course once again Medusa lied for him to take those off of her. But jokes aside, she suddenly suggested taking her to the beach as she really likes swimming. Upon mentioning the beach, she suddenly teases the high merchant master if he is imagining her in a swimsuit, accusing him of getting too excited. Wanting to give him his fantasy, she questioned if he would like it to see now, but she suggested seeing it along with her eyes. Although it would be nice if the last thing he saw was her swimsuit, he still wants to live on. After a while, Medusa's slave got curious if her master had any experience in dating before, which he had some. Medusa doubted him, asking him to look her on the eye, although he for some reason can't do that. He pointed out that the time they went out stargazing, he considered that as a date, but it doesn't count. As Medusa explained, it's just her attending to her master as a servant relationship towards him. Medusa, knowing this, quickly thought up if her master wants to have a proper date, she wants to have a proper invitation from her master, which he quickly agreed on his words, wanting to make their first date memorable, wanting to plan ahead. Although she is willing to wait, she warns him that if he doesn't hurry up, she might have ended his life being a stone by then, which that decision is entirely up to her. As the day goes by, Medusa wanted to know if her master likes girl in dresses. Agreeing that he does, loves them, Medusa immediately explained the cliché liking girls in glasses when taking them off, which he suddenly shouted, agreeing that women in glasses looks good, which shortly afterwards her master explained thoroughly, as Medusa is taken back when her master is way more passionate talking about it. Medusa didn't had this in mind, as it would probably another squabble going the simple route. Medusa couldn't properly take all the information, it suddenly stopped him. She understood the situation, as such she decided for today she doesn't want him to take off the blindfold off of her, causing the master to question such intentions being very different today, questioning if she is alright. After a while, the master is slowly getting onto Medusa, as he suggested having clothes for her to wear. Although she suggested if he could change the blindfold, Medusa questions the clothes and what kind are they, pondering if it's perhaps something naughty. But for now he explains if she doesn't like it, she doesn't have to wear it. As Medusa wore the clothes, she questions if it suits her, which left her master in shock as he is stunned by her cuteness. Medusa misinterpreted this, suggesting her master turned into stoned even with the blindfold on. Although in reality he couldn't help but stare at her for a while, as it looks great on her. Medusa suddenly questions what is up with the beautiful clothes. Immediately afterwards, her master officially invited her to go on a date with her. She agreed to go, telling him he's lucky, as apparently if he would have invited him later that day, he would already be encaved in stone by then, which made him glad that he made it in time then. Later that day, Medusa mentions that tomorrow's the date, which the high merchant master suddenly see her in a good mood. Medusa suggested that it's finally time he turned into stone, but suggested not to take off her folds even after the date. As the date arrived, Medusa seemed excited. Seemingly she perceived that her master finally wanted to look into her eyes. He's worried as the date might finish before it even started. She genuinely asks if he is sure about his decision. Although Medusa assured he's not going to be petrified today, she immediately imagined being enclaved by her towards her master, which the master declines and repeats of not doing that. Shortly after, the master compliments her outfit, stating it looked pretty and cute on her. He can't help but wonder what sort of eyes she have, putting our master to the Riz God level. She went along with his words, as it depends on the date if he would take it off and see it. But he declines, saying hell no towards her advances. As they arrive near the sea for their date, she wonders if he get encaved in stone, is she allowed to scatter her master's ashes into the sea? But his idea of a date might be him evading that end for him. Medusa is thankful for her master taking him to the sea, which she see this as a fun way to bond and spend time together. Medusa suddenly suggested they should go swimming, wanting to cut watermelons and wondering if her master would want to see her in a swimsuit, which he immediately agreed. On the other hand, her snakes is fed up with their squabble. But for the main event, Medusa mentions it's her eyes and him wanting to see it. Although he pointed out that was a close one, but it's not even related to the sea at this point. As the day goes by, Medusa is thankful as today was a lot of fun. And since it's a special occasion, she pointed out if he wants to end it by looking into her eyes. The High Merchant Master see this, as it just won't end the date, but also his life, which soon he might turn into soil soon enough. Medusa is glad they went on a date before it all ends. Her master suddenly urges the wants to live, as this isn't the end yet. Medusa question if her master has anything else he wants to do, which there is. A lot, as he wants to visit many places and do many things, wanting to also come back here with his beloved Medusa. Medusa suddenly mentions that their relationship would progress even further if this continues, stating that it's a nice thing to have, which her master suddenly froze as she called out to him, seeing him blush to her words, which she suddenly teases. Her master turned to stone without even looking at her eyes, claiming victory. The story ends as the two continue their squabble and deepening their relationship, although he might go deep in her once he finally entered the tight Grand Canyon. If you made it this far, comment on it and let me know your thoughts. LMAO. Till then, Manhwa out. Peace.